Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Success Certified coaching video where we bring some of the best knowledge that we've learned, and we really just try to practice it every single week and hopefully provide some value for you. Typically doing every single Monday. This is part of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel, also Expert CRE Secrets YouTube channel. So I'm excited to present today, which is called Future Pacing, and I'm with my colleague, Jason Kay, also certified success coach. Jason, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Fantastic. And happy Monday to you. And so,
Absolutely.
so go ahead, Jason. You had any thoughts to kick us off?
Well, we are now in session 3 of going through this one. This was a big unit for us. And it, definitely worth the time to spend in it and do it, because if you do it at a high level, it works wonderfully.
Absolutely. And then Jason too, if you could center yourself a little bit there and shift a little bit, will be even better. And by the way, this is section 4, and this is from Eli. And I get the last name mess. I want to give Eli his credit.
Shaw.
Eli, say it again.
Shaw.
Okay, Eli Shaw. Okay, great. And he's a success coach, and he's amazing. And he taught us these things, and we're doing what he taught us to do, which is go practice them. Right? There's one thing to hear it, another thing to practice it. So I want to encourage you, as you're listening to us talk about this and walk through it, you also would go on and practice it, right? So you can become ingrained into the way that you think and speak to help more of your clients out. That being said, Jason, let's kick it off. Success coaching with week 4, which is future pacing, right? And future pacing refers to creating expectations about the future. You can future pace about goals, dreams, expectations, outcomes, results. And by the way, we probably already do this every single day, Jason, but we probably do it wrong. So what are some of the basics of future pacing, Jason, as we've learned it in the coaching from Eli?
The basics really are just focusing on what you want, which is the exact opposite of what most people do. Most people get stuck about thinking what you don't want. The subconscious doesn't do negatives. So all it hears is, instead of I don't want, it's I want. And all of a sudden you end up with the stuff you didn't want to begin with. So what I've been trying to do, and it's not easy, is even in your speaking, you'll hear people say, oh, no worries. I say it's all good. I got that from someone. So that's the type of thing that we're talking about, where you're focusing on the success. So I don't want to lose 5 pounds. I want to weigh 192 pounds. Those are the subtle differences that we're talking about here.
It's so key, right? And I think it's what it takes an average of 6 positives to offset a negative. Our natural reptilian or alligator brain, if you will, that goes back in the day, right? It's so keen towards survival, right? And so it's an average of 6 positives offset a negative. And we're always thinking our reactions is towards survival, and which means it naturally goes to what we don't want, right? What we don't want. Well, I don't want that. I don't want that. And you get so focused on what you don't want that it actually tends to pull you in that direction, right? It's sort of like the person who gets up on stage and says, oh, I don't want to be nervous. I don't want to be nervous. I don't want to be nervous, right? They keep focusing on that. And guess what? They get up, and that energy that they're on stage is they're very nervous, right? They're fearful. They're anxious, right? Rather than focusing on what they do want. I do want to deliver, a powerful speech. I do want to deliver a persuasive speech. I do want to make an impact for the audience. I do want to focus on the other person, right? Helping them rather than what my feelings are at this time. I know for me, by the way, Jason, this helped me to get on video more, to start a podcast, to get on my YouTube channel for this very, very thought. And then the thought was this. At first it was, oh my gosh, I don't want to be on video. This is embarrassing. This is not what I like to do. I feel like the imposter syndrome and all this stuff, the lighting's bad, all of the stuff that just kind of floods in, right? And when I first started about that, that's how it really was. And it took a while, and we've deleted those old videos. But what I started to focus on was what I did want, which is something that Russell Brunson talked about. He's amazing. If you haven't heard of Russell Brunson, he's incredible. He founder of ClickFunnels, and wrote a book called Expert Secrets. And he talked about taking the gift you've been given, being a blessing to others, right? Making that an impact for others. And so that became the focus rather than what I was feeling was more so what gift was I given to communicate and help others, and then focus on just making that for other people, serving other people. And so that shift helped me to, I guess, essentially become more relaxed on video by just shifting that thinking and focusing on that. Any thoughts on that, Jason?
I think I went through the exact same journey. I think most people do, honestly. If you look on YouTube or your favorite vlog at any creator at their very first, even just audio, their very first efforts, usually you can see they are not, or hear they are not comfortable. And that's fine. You know, some people leave it up because it's like, I still get hits. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But that's the main thing you have to get through your head is, it is what it is. I just go with it. And, you know, this is life. And people actually are enjoying seeing the life versus something that's perfect and completely polished, because now it doesn't feel authentic. In Texas, there's a guy who does video. He went from zero to hero. And by that, I mean, he went from being brandy new in real estate in a very tough market with a lot of experienced agents to selling over $1 million and getting over $1 million worth of commissions in his first year. And in all honesty, he did it in the last 3 months. And the reason for that is because of his video. And you watch it and he tells you exactly what you need to do. How many people actually do this? Almost no one. But the whole point of it is you listen to him, you watch him, you start to see the nuances, and then you go get his book and he goes, the video really isn't what's important. His best video that he's ever gotten, his partner walks in the middle of the video, unannounced, not mic'd up, totally unscripted. And you see him in the background getting his mic on, and all of a sudden he joins in. That's the type of stuff people want. That's the whole point. You just run with it. It's natural life. People bond with you for that. If it's too polished, now they're watching TV and you're not a real person.
Yep, very, very well said. So I would encourage everyone to take action on this, right? Focus on what you do want, and make it authentic. And so here's some of the challenges, the basics of future pacing. Here's the problem. If you can only explain what you don't want, then you're only focused on what you don't want. And by focusing on what you don't want, your filters get turned to the wrong channel. Think of your filters sort of like you know, something that you focus on that you don't want to see, right? Like you say, do not think of, and this is just an example, the subconscious mind cannot process negatives, right? So do not think of a red and white striped elephant. And if you say that, guess what? You're going to filter. Your mind's going to go filter, and it's going to see that. If you do, and that's the
first thing that pops into your mind is what you're not supposed to think of.
Yeah, right.
Another
exactly.
Great one is, don't think of a green tomato. Boom, there it is, right in your mind. Even though you're trying not to, don't do it. Don't think about it. And it just pops in, no matter how hard you're trying not to, because that's the way the mind is wired. So the concept of negatives isn't really there. And that's what I was talking about before. That's why I want to weigh 192 pounds. I don't want to lose 5 pounds, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, 5 pounds. All of a sudden you're 5 pounds heavier. You know, it's just the way it works. It's very bizarre. And
it's the way it works.
I am so surprised that is something that you're not taught as a kindergartner.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's always talking about what you don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And guess what? The kid didn't even have the idea, who was sitting next to the other kid, to go start doing that thing, right? And yeah, I know that's how I was. So it was always challenging some of the let's say the teachers to keep it fun. So to clean out your filters, you want to tune to the right channel. You want to focus on what you do want. So, and now we're speaking to those who might be coaching other folks or helping their clients out or consulting, right? Potential clients. Anytime a client tells you what they don't want, make sure you ask them, well, if you don't want X or blank, then what do you want instead? So let's do an example of this. If you don't want to live in a highly taxed state, right, with a lot of regulations and a lot of challenges, then what do you want instead, right? or if you don't want to live in an environment where there's hurricanes, or there's huge snowstorms, or there's all of these challenges, what do you want, right? And so, Jason, as a real estate professional in Boulder, Colorado, helping people buy and sell homes, what would you say would be a good example for this?
When someone says, "Oh, I don't want a big yard," the first thing I say is, "Tell me about that. What's a big yard look like to you?" Because, if you get someone from Texas that goes, "Oh, I don't want too big of a yard," it's like, okay, they're talking about an acre. Our not big yards are a tenth of an acre. So it's a very different animal. So the first thing is getting clarity and speaking the same language and understanding. The second piece that happens is, once we're on the same boat, if they're still talking negatives, I'll take their negative and turn it into a positive. So when they're saying, "Oh, I don't want a big yard," it's like, okay, so tell me how, after I know, what a big yard is or isn't, it's how big of a yard do you want? Okay, great. So you want a yard that you can basically have a little bit of landscaping, lock the door, and leave for 3 months and not have to worry about, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on right there in that one sentence. The first thing is, I'm saying back to them what they told me. So they now know I'm hearing them. That last part where I'm asking the question, right? That's a tie down. I'm now taking control of the conversation by asking the question. I'm also getting them to commit to what they want. And lastly, I'm putting it as a positive. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that just went on in that little couple of sentences that becomes extremely, extremely powerful, that pulls back what we've discussed in the past and also what we're going to keep talking about in the future. So you'll keep wanting to tune in to see how that works.
Absolutely. And so I love the way you put that. And I think another good way to, when someone says what they don't want, like Jason's talking about, is to do mirror and labeling behind that. And so you could mirror, "Well, I know I don't want a big yard." And you would say, "Big yard?" And like a curious tone, because again, you don't know what the big yard is. It's different for different people and different reasons. And then he would say, "Yeah, because, I used to have to, mow the grass or do all these things, or have to take care of, or have to hire somebody, and it's just overwhelming." And then you could label the emotion. So it sounds like you don't want something where it's so overwhelming. You want something a little more turnkey and less maintenance. And they could say, "That's right." Right. And so you ask them, "So what you do want is this. Is that exactly what you're going to say?" "That's right." And sometimes they don't even know until you've gone through the process of talking through this, the really what they want. Sometimes folks are starting with what they don't want, and then you're helping to guide them to the vision of what they do want, right? That's a part of consultations and sales. And so this is so important right here. You want to make sure that you get this answer from the potential client, the person you're working with. So you want to wait for as long as it takes, right? Because if you allow the prospect or the lead or the client to only share what they don't want, you'll have to guess at what they do want in the future. And then what happens is time starts to get squeezed. And as time gets squeezed, pressure starts to increase, right? And now you're increasing the risk of failure for the outcome for the client, the risk of failure for you to actually close the sale. And so it's so important that up front they're clarifying what they do want, right? So that you and or they don't have to guess at it later or get frustrated later and waste a huge amount of energy or lead to mistakes or lead to just failure overall by setting the proper foundation. And so let's lead into an exercise here, Jason. We'll just actually do it for your business. You ready, Jason? So this would be,
Sure.
we're going to be talking about a brief exercise for what you do want, or what you don't want first, and then what you do instead by the end of the year. So Jason, what would you say you don't want for your business in the next 6 months by the end of the year?
I don't want to lose the agents that are working with us.
So what do you want instead?
I want to grow our team.
So it sounds like you want to grow your team and you don't want to lose your agents.
Correct.
What else don't you want, Jason?
This is hard because I usually don't think this way anymore. What don't I want? I don't want lots of really hot days and lots of rain.
And so what do you want instead, Jason?
Um, cool days, sunshine, nice breezes,
Well, that'd
beautiful
be
weather.
nice if you could just like think that through and it just happened, right?
Well, that's why I live where I do. I mean, we get mostly 300 days of sunshine a year. So, that goes back into that whole, what do you want? So
Excellent.
that's part of the reason why I moved here to lovely Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah. And I think on my side, I'll flip it now. So Jason will be the person, right? And I'll be the client, and
Right.
I'm selling a highly appreciated asset. And I would say, Jason, I just don't want to deal with the toilet trash and liability.
Okay.
I don't want to deal with, not having liquidity and
Okay.
having all this debt. I don't want to deal with the government, and the regulations that are associated with owning the real estate and the rent control.
Yeah.
What would you
What
say?
what else don't you want at this point?
I also don't want to, feel like I'm not spending the time with family and as
Mhm.
much as I could be and traveling as much as I could be. And I don't want to feel like I have to work all the time.
Completely understand. So tell me, what do you want?
So what I do want is, of course, time to travel with family, time to,
Mhm.
give to causes and maybe serve in different ways, or start another business that I more been like a hobby or a passion of mine.
Mhm.
I do want to, downsize my big house that, my kids have all grown up and they've kind of moved out of the area, out of the state, and looking
Yep.
for a new, kind of a new adventure, new location, and, reallocate that capital. But
Yep.
you know what I really do want, Jason? I really want to feel like I'm being a great steward with the wealth that I've, earned and built, but it's just not, being taxed and just, wasted away. I really want to pass a legacy down to my
Mhm.
kids, and also give to causes that I really believe in.
That's amazing. And if we're not pressed for time, this is a perfect lead into now you repeat back what he just said and ultimately why it's important to him. So that was absolutely wonderful, Brett. That was great.
Absolutely. And we're going to be getting to that, by the way, how to do that. But we want to continue on this future pacing to give you even some more ways to help those that you're going to be helping out. And so one of the surest ways to fail is to expect to fail. So you want to listen to people's language. People who are committed to a specific outcome speak clearly and confidently. In other words, they have their vision, they have their clear outcome, they can see it, they can touch it, they can feel it, they have emotion behind that, and it's really clear and it's really confident. People who are unsure about their outcome, or if they can't achieve it, they use hesitant or weak language, maybe a softer tone, maybe less dynamic or bold at the end of the sentence, maybe hesitating. So to move your lead prospect or client towards success, help them speak clearly and confidently about what they want. In other words, help them to own it. Because guess what, Jason? If they say it, they
They
own it. But
heard
if
it, they
we
own it.
say it, right?
Yep. If we say it, then it's our words. It's not their words. They don't own it. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's great. And then it just sort of floats away as quickly as they hear it.
Absolutely. So it's so important to understand that even if you think, or even if you have the confidence, even if you're correct in your assessment of what they want, if you're saying it, essentially you're owning it, meaning it's not going to have as much impact versus helping to guide or to lead. Lead would be a good word, guide or lead or help them explore so that they say it, so they own it. And I think that's the hardest thing for me, Jason, honestly, because I have the efficiency mindset, meaning I want things to just
You want to
move
get there
at a
quick.
good pace. I don't want to rush it. I want to hustle, but I want to get things done. I want to get action. I want outcome, sooner rather than later. And so I've got that's good for certain things, but it's a weakness here, especially in the beginning, right? When we're exploring and we're future pacing and we're, clearly defining what they want.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I can make the assumption in my assertive personality, someone might say, yeah, no, that's what I want, but maybe it's not fully what they want, or they didn't really own it. And now we're going off of that assumption and I'm moving towards this thing as if it's theirs, but it's really not, because I owned it. And I thought I owned it, with them, but really it was really about me and it wasn't about them.
Yep. The flip side to catch this in your clients is listening for those weak words. It's not just how they're speaking, but also what they're saying. So one of those key things is what I like to call the Yoda-ism. It's try, and Yoda snaps back, try, do or do not. There is no try. So when you hear, oh yeah, I'll give it a try, it's like, okay, let's take a second here and dig into that. Do you really want this? Yes. So you want this to happen? Yes. So what are you going to do? Are we going to be okay if we try and it doesn't work? Or do you want to make this actually happen? It's like, no, I want, it's like, okay, no. It's, do you want to make this happen? Yes. Well, say it. Yes, I want to make this happen. And you could be as blunt as that, where you go, say it. That's part of being the coach, is to get them there. And yeah, it's a little rah-rah, but there's a reason why coaches do that. It's because now that they've said it, they've owned it, they've authored it.
Absolutely. And to that point too, Jason, if you are a real estate professional like Jason and I are helping, even clients, in some ways you are coaching, but other ways you're just consulting. And by the way, if you're 100% commission like we are, we don't get paid unless it closes. You're not in the business. You're not going to be in business very long if you're not setting clear expectations and you're not finding out who really needs or wants the help, right? Who really needs or wants the help. There's a difference between need and want, and a difference between want and need. And by having them own it and clearly define that and say that, guess what? You're being a good steward with your time as a consultant, right? As a real estate professional, right? Any thoughts on that, Jason?
It's really a disservice to your clients if you're not finding out exactly what they want. And not everyone knows exactly what they want. They might not be coming to you and go, hey, I have this multifamily asset I'm looking to divest. It may be a frustration like, oh my God, I can't believe they're, Brett, I'm giving you a call because I can't believe the city's thinking of putting in rent control. We know that doesn't work. What should I do? And, it could be as simple as that. And that floats all the way back to this whole try thing that I brought up a second ago. The try until you succeed, or try and try again. That's a never ending loop. That, that just sort of, you could see my whole posture. I'm just sort of sinking down as I'm saying, it's like, oh God, I'm going to be stuck in this. The whole point is trying is not the same thing as actually doing, hence what I said earlier. So success lies beyond trying. It's doing. You need to get it done. That's success. So you can do something or you cannot do something. Similar words to try are might, may, could, should, want to, hope, attempt, let's give it a shot, we'll see. All those sort of wishy-washy words, those should be triggers for this. And your job as a professional, or our job as a professional, is, all right, let's dig down, because spinning our wheels, throwing something up on the market and seeing if the market will take it right now, there's actually a fair number of those overpriced listings. They're not selling, and we're really in a double hump market where the stuff that's fresh to market, if it's priced right, is selling right away, sometimes with multiple bids, sometimes with quite a few, which is really surprising. But
so here's a thought there. So see what Jason's doing here. He's focused on what words that we don't want to hear, right?
Yeah.
And now there's words that we do want to hear, right? Yeah. Although it's good to have the awareness up there, right? As we're even future pacing for ourselves and for our clients. And so the words that you want your clients to use to get a commitment towards a particular outcome would be intend, will, can, must, expect, absolutely, going to, shall, have to. Another way to maybe tease or guide or mirror some of these out would be on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being that you expect, you absolutely must have this outcome. How serious are you about, achieving what we just talked about, what you want, right? And one being, that's, and to see what they say, actually have them have a number on it. Jason, any thoughts on that?
And this way you don't waste their time. And that's what you tell them. I don't want to waste your time doing this, because when we do this, not if, when we do this, you need to be all in. It's going to take a little bit of effort. It's going to take some time. And if you're like, well, let's just see, it's like, no, we're not doing this then.
Yep. And so to
And
help people future pace effectively, you want to ask a few questions.
yeah,
And these questions will help, and different folks who have and there's kind of these there's auditory visual, there's kinesthetic, and there's one other one. We did it. I think we did that in week 2 of this. But
yep.
Here's some questions to effectively open people up about this. What will you see? What will you hear? What will you say? What will you be telling yourself? What will you feel? How will you know? A good way to put this would be, hey, Jason, 6 months from now or 12 months from now, looking back, what will you have seen to make this a really great, amazing outcome for you? What would you what will you be telling yourself? What will you be feeling to know that, hey, this is exactly what I wanted, and the outcome it feels really great. Any thoughts on that, Jason?
A great way to do this with clients is having them imagine their desired outcome as if they already have it now. It's already occurred. So what you want to do is you ask them, write down how it feels, what they've been thinking about, what are they going to say, knowing this has already happened. And the whole point of writing it down is so you could share it with them later after it already has. Ask them while they're imagining what it is, if they notice anything else that they see, hear, feel, touch, or saying to themselves when their outcome is already true. And make sure that all these words, as we said previously, are all positive. And if they're not excited and motivated to move forward, go back, clarify, start digging and finding out what they really want, because that might not be it. It might be, oh yeah, we have to sell this mountain house because we can't go up anymore. It's like, well, it doesn't sound like you really want to sell it, does it? It's like, no, I have so many great memories. I really like it. It's like, okay, so why are you selling it? So you really want to start digging in, because for that client who doesn't want to sell it, oh man, it's going to be a tough transaction all the way around, from the very beginning all the way to the end.
I think this is so key. And I think this is, and we're coaching ourselves as we're talking through, and hopefully coaching you, getting some value here, right? The moment that there is either hesitation or roadblocks, or, let's just say lack of motivation, right? On the client's end, as a professional, it's our job to go back and clarify what the thesis of this entire conversation, or the foundation was, which was what they do want. Right. And sometimes maybe it did change. And if it changed, then perhaps it's time to, either stop that transaction, delay that transaction, or re-clarify, a different time frame to do that. I mean, there's times when there's opportunities and deals that took years to fully, I guess, harvest, if you will, because the timing wasn't right for the client. And so by helping them imagine these things or go into the future, and you're doing that now up front, it's also going to really clarify their wants that they just said to you a few minutes ago, right? And now is what this exercise is doing, is that increasing, on a scale from 1 to 10? You might even ask that question. Okay, now that you've imagined that, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you feel like it was a 7 and now it's an 8 or a 9? And they could say, yeah, it really does feel like it's an 8 or a 9 now, because they've had a chance to unlock some of the other senses that were going to be a part of the future, right? And maybe even other outcomes or other things that, maybe it's the family, the legacy, right? For capital gains tax exit planning. Maybe it's more the time with the grandkids, right? Maybe it's more time with the place that they've always wanted to travel on their bucket list, or whatever that might be. By helping them to go into the future will help to clarify what they really want. And if for some reason, instead of going from a 7 to an 8 or 9, it goes to a 6 or 5 or 4, or drops, well, that's good. You found that out, and at least you found it out now, rather than you're spinning your wheels and wasting everybody's time. Jason, any thoughts on that?
No, that's exactly the whole point of this process. Is you want to drive down, you want to uncover the truths, whether the client actually knows it or not. And in many cases, they might not know it. So, that's the whole point of having these conversations and going deep like this. Because I've had clients where it's, we've come to the conclusion where it's like, yeah, we really shouldn't transact right now. And they're like, thank you so much for not pushing me. It's like, that's my job. And in all honesty with my job, you're now so happy with the service I gave you and not pushing my own agenda, you're going to go refer me to 5 of your friends who are wanting to do the same thing. And I tell them that just like that. And they're like, oh, yeah. Like, I've got a client who closed last month. This is their second home that he bought. He's like, yeah, I finally have some friends that are, getting ready to start buying. He's a younger guy, so it's, he's got a great story. But, all of a sudden it's like starting to, like, number 4, number 5 is coming in. And it's like, okay, what are you guys looking for? And that's the whole point, is you build that trust. It's not about putting money in your own pocket through a commission. It's about helping people. And if you don't come from that place of helping, it's not going to work as well.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a poor outcome for everybody. You might feel like you're pressuring or pushing them. They might feel like they're being pressured or pushed. And you want to treat every client like your family member, your mom and your dad, your brother, your sister, your cousin. You want to approach everything with the heart of service and gratitude and working with them, walking them through everything. So clarify what they want, expectations about the result, positive emotions driving them forward. Jason, you want to add to that?
Well, that's exactly what I was just talking about, was that whole positive piece that pulls them forward. It's almost like to continue with the Star Wars analogies, that they're caught in a tractor beam and it's just inevitable that this is going to happen. That's how they feel. And it's exactly what they want. It's not like, oh my God, I have to do this. It's the exact opposite. They're excited about it. They're excited that it's done. They're so happy with what's actually happening and how it's going forward.
So good. So good.
Those positive emotions are the important piece. That's the momentum that keeps moving them forward, basically to close. So,
and by the way, that close is not a forced close. The close is the positive emotions that they owned what they wanted. They owned, and they did the practice and they did the work of imagining and future pacing, right? And I think of it, it's really like a goal. Like, you're setting a goal, you're visualizing what the outcome would be. You have emotions around what that outcome could be, right? And you're doing the same thing as a consultant to help your real estate, clients, for your high net worth clients who are exiting highly appreciated assets. So collectively, the closing just naturally happens, right? It's like, how do we get, they're so excited. How do we get started, right? It's not anything where you're having to pressure anybody to do something that maybe they're not quite ready to do yet.
And for you yourself, you want to make sure you write down what those positive emotions are and what caused them, because you could be later down the road and all of a sudden, they're having a bad day or something. And you need to pull this back out, or you might need it for the closing strategy right then and there to keep driving them forward, because there's a lot going on at this point in time. There's a lot of emotions that are churning and bubbling around. So by focusing on these positives and keeping them to the forefront, you basically keep that motivation going forward.
Absolutely. And so we want to encourage you to take some action right now. And we want to encourage you and ask this question: how will you use future pacing with your clients and or current clients and or future clients, right? Because we don't want to mistake that these are just new leads. These are perhaps clients that you're already serving now, and it's going back to the basics of, hey, what did you want when we first started working together? What's the gap between what you want and what you don't have right now, and how do we bridge that gap, right? Another cool thing to talk about, which I think Jason and I will be talking about here, is NPS scores. And NPS scores are essentially on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely you to refer a client, family member, or friend to us, right? From your sphere of influence. And if someone is saying like a 9 out of 10, that means it's a net promoter score, meaning they're likely to send you. They're people actively. If they say, I think it's like around 6, 7, or 8. It's kind of either a little bit neutral. If they're 5 and below, it's almost like you're failing, right? And so these are things that we'll talk about next week because we ran out of time. But we're doing a little tease there. Net promoter score. but how will you use future pacing with your current or future clients? And how will you use future pacing with yourself, right? For you to help you unlock the goals that you're trying to unlock. Hey, if we could be of any service to you, we'd love the opportunity to work with you as a partner in real estate. We're growing our EXP teams. And or if you're looking to exit highly appreciated assets, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, where we teach you how to build an effective capital gains tax exit plan. As well, if you want to connect with Jason Kay, Jason, where can they find you?
You can find me on the web at homesinboulder.com. That's homes, HOMES, plural, -in, Boulder. You could drop me an email, same tag handle. It's Jason@homesinboulder, or you could shoot me a text at 720-626-8416.
Amazing. Thanks, everybody. And